Hello everyone, and thank you very much for watching. This is me, Mr. P, and this is another episode in a Proxmox home server series. This is a part 2 of me showing you how I am monitoring my Proxmox cluster. In a part 1, I was talking more about the hardware, and the hardware I'm using is Electron 5-inch capacitive touchscreen monitor, and I was showing you how I designed and how it's mounted inside my Proxmox cluster. In this video, I will focus more on the Zabbix. Zabbix is the all-in-one open source solution that lets you monitor anything. And they're right, with Zabbix you can monitor pretty much anything you want. You can monitor servers, you can monitor websites, you can monitor devices, you can monitor any kind of telemetric that the device has or tracks. Zabbix will capture that telemetric, will capture all the ones and zeros, and it will display in a graph. This is the simple graph that I created for this video, where it's just showing the current time, showing the NAS storage usage. So right now it sits at 84% in storage, and NAS is using 4% of CPU. This is, by the way, Synology, so the Zabbix can connect to Synology. And this is the Proxmox cluster, my main Proxmox cluster, containing 3 nodes, Alrakis, Sirius, and Lich. Alrakis, as you can see, doing a double job, is doing 45% CPU utilization. Lich is 2.3, and Sirius is really serious by doing 4.5 or so. And the RAM usage here showing as well. Zabbix allows you to monitor a lot of stuff. I mean, they are right on the website. You can monitor anything. If you look at the download section, you will see the setup process of the Zabbix. First time when I looked at this, I thought it's going to be a bit of a complicated task for me to handle, and it's going to take quite a while to get everything set up and running. But honestly, it takes 10, maybe maximum 20 minutes to get Zabbix-Server running. So for this video and for me to show you how Zabbix-Server is set up, I have 2 VMs set up inside my Proxmox cluster. One is called Zabbix-YT. This is where the Zabbix-Server will live. And another one is called some VM. So this can be any kind of Linux distro, as long as it allows you to install Zabbix agent packages. You can monitor Linux, macOS, Windows, websites, and pretty much everything else under the sun can be monitored by Zabbix. So first thing, we need to get everything running. I'm gonna use Ubuntu server VM for this video, but you can pretty much install Zabbix onto a lot of operating systems, distros, as you can see here. Ubuntu, SUSE, Rocky, Red, Raspberry Pi, Oracle, Debian, CentOS, Alma Linux, and etc. I'm gonna use Ubuntu. And next thing, you need to make sure that you select the right OS. So let's jump into the Ubuntu VM, and I'll show you how you can get the OS version, a correct OS, to make sure that you're going to use correct OS version. I am already connected via SSH into a Zabbix-YT. And once you set up Ubuntu or any other distro, first thing what you need to do is obviously do update and upgrade. So I'm going to quickly do that. Okay, nothing needs to be updated and upgraded. Great. So like I said, first of all, you need to know what kind of OS version you are using. To do that, you need to type cat space /etc/os-release. And it's telling me that I'm using 2204. So I need to go back into a Zabbix page and need to make sure that I'm going to use 2204 version. I will install server, front end, and agent. I'm going to use MySQL database, and it's going to run by Apache web server. And this is the steps you need to take. You need to copy paste these commands into your server, into your VM where you want to install Zabbix-Server, and everything is going to be installed automatically. First command you need to basically do is obviously update and upgrade. And then if you look into the downloads page, which is this, you need to copy this command. So let's copy this command. Go back, and I'm gonna write sudo because I'm logged in as a user. You can run this via super user. I'm just gonna run via user. And now what I need to do is copy the command, copy paste the command, and press enter. And what it's doing is downloading all the packages that will allow us to include Zabbix repos into our system. Let's go back to this. Copy next command again, sudo. Paste the command in, press enter, and that's it. Unpacking Zabbix release, setting up Zabbix release. So that means that's it. A Zabbix release for Ubuntu 2204 has been added. And next command is just update. So I'm going to write sudo apt update. And right now at the bottom, you can see a couple of more extra lines showed up than we weren't seeing before. So next thing is a bunch of stuff to be installed. So let's copy all that and let's clear all this, sudo, and then paste the command. And it's going to install Zabbix-Server MySQL, which will allow Zabbix to communicate with a MySQL server. It will install Zabbix frontend PHP files that will show us the Zabbix dashboard and all the web UI. Zabbix Apache configs to allow us to set up this web server, and Zabbix SQL scripts will allow us to copy already pre-configured database configurations into the MySQL that we will install next. And then Zabbix agent, which is just going to be an agent that runs inside the same VM where the server will run, because this way it will allow Zabbix server to monitor itself. And that's it, all that in. I'm just gonna go put -y at the end because I want to get auto accept all the prompts and go. If you can see this showing up on the screen, that means that you installing or you're trying to install the not supported version. For example, you are using Ubuntu 20.04 but trying to install 22.04. You need to make sure that you select the right OS version from this list. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this running and I'll be back when everything is installed. Installation finished. So let's check the next step we need to do. The next step will be connecting to MySQL. But one thing you need to make sure you have a database server already running. This is a quite crucial step, because first time when I was installing this, I missed this part and I was trying to connect to MySQL to set everything up, and I wasn't able to do that because there was no MySQL installed. So to install MySQL server inside your Zabbix-Server VM, you need to type sudo, because if you're using user, or you don't need sudo, type sudo if you're straight away doing via root. Sudo apt install MySQL-server. Enter, and it's going to say that nothing to be installed because I already installed MySQL server prior to this video. So make sure that MySQL is installed, and once everything is installed, all the stuff is installed for MySQL server, you can go and use the next command, which will log in via root. But right now, if I'm going to run this, it will not work because I'm user, so I need to do sudo and then do MySQL-u root. That means log into MySQL using root user with a password. If you don't know your root password, you just go back into a command prompt, just cancel the previous command. To do that is Ctrl+C and type sudo space su. You will be changed into a root, and now just type passwd to means that password, change the password, give a new password. I'm just going to click exit because I like to do everything via user instead of root. And now I can go and run this command, which was sudo mysql-u root-b. Enter the password for the root user, and here we go. I am inside the MySQL. This indicates that I am inside the MySQL connected to MySQL, not the Linux CLI. So next command, do not copy this front bit. It's just showing, indicating this command needs to run inside database. You just copy this part. Start with create database and etc. One thing please note with copy and pasting the commands into a SSH client, that commands will be triggered automatically. Like for example, if I right click and there's a command in, there is a chance it's going to be triggered automatically. Right now it's not done that right now. I'm not sure why, but usually when I paste the command into my SSH client, commands gets triggered automatically and already initiates it. There is no need to press enter after the command. And next command, as you can see, it says create user. Let me zoom in a bit. Create user Zabbix. So this command will create a user Zabbix inside the local host identified by password. If you don't want to use password, you copy this command into some sort of a text editor, change the word password into a password that you want to use, and then copy the command. I don't mind to use password, as this is a demo video. So I'm just going to paste that in. Yes, I can right now go and change that, but I'm just going to go and press enter. So right now the user Zabbix is created with the password. Next command grants all the privileges to Zabbix user inside Zabbix database. So we created Zabbix database, we created the Zabbix user, now we're giving Zabbix user all the privileges inside Zabbix database. So let's copy this command, go back into a terminal, and we're going to press enter. And that's it. Query OK, everything is working fine. Next command is going to set global log bin trust function creators. So all what this does is One means turning off the security of the database. And what I mean by that is allowing all the data to be written inside the database without validating the user and etc. So we need to do that because of the next step. So first we're going to turn all the security. You can call it security, is a bit more broader than security, but you can think this as security off. So we're going to press enter on that. The next command is says quit. You can write exit or just type quit and then semicolon, enter. So we go, it says bye, and I'm back in CLI. Let's clear this. To clear the screen, by the way, of the SSH client, just press Ctrl L to clear the screen. Let's go back into the commands. So next thing, on Zabbix server host, import initial schema and data. So we're just going to select all this. Just do not copy the hashtag. This just indicates that you need to run this inside the Linux CLI, where MySQL is showing that you need to run this inside the database CLI. So we're going to right click and I need to put sudo at front. And what this right now doing is going to sudo zcat. Zcat will decompress the server.sql.gz file and pipe the data into our MySQL using this pre-configured setup by a user Zabbix with a password into a database Zabbix. If I press enter, it's going to ask me for a password. And this is the password for the user Zabbix we created here. As you can see, this one, I left it as a password. If you change that, you need to enter the password that you changed here. But this is the password we need to enter. So in my case, it's just going to be password, press enter, and now wait. And once all this is finished, you will not get any kind of confirmation. You're just going to be taken back straight into a Linux CLI. The decompression of the server.sql.gz file and then pushing data into your MySQL server should not take more than 3 minutes. I would say 5 minutes maximum. If it takes more than 5 minutes, there is something wrong with your setup. Anyway, we're back into a Linux CLI. So let's go back into our setup process, and after this command we need to go and log in back into MySQL. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go and type sudo mysql --u root --p, password for your super user or root user. And now inside SQL we need to go and paste the command that we copied before. But right now, before it was 1, now it's 0. This means we're turning on the security. That's done. And we just type quit, and that's it. And we're back into a Linux CLI. And then it's asking us to go and configure the database connection. To do that, I need to type sudo nano /etc/zabbix /zabbix-server.conf. And in here, what we need to do, we need to look for the line which is going to say DB password. If you're using SSH client, you can SSH program to connect to this server by SSH. You can press Ctrl W to start the search, and I'm just going to put DB pass, enter. And this is the line we need to make sure is active by removing the hashtag. And password was password. This is the password that you changed if you set up here. I left password as a password, but if you change that, this is what you need to enter here. Ctrl X to close, Y to write, enter to confirm, and that's it. Zabbix instructed, or Zabbix configured to use the right password to connect to database. And the last thing what is asking us to do is systemctl restart Zabbix server, Zabbix agent, and Apache 2. That's what we're going to do now. So I'm just going to paste this command in. Obviously I need to do sudo in front because I'm using user, and I'm just going to press enter. That's done. Next, I'll bring the same command, delete the word restart and write enable, and then enter. And that is it. And I can go and double check. If I delete enable and type status, and let's delete everything and just leave Zabbix server. As you can see at the top, it says active, and it's running. It means Zabbix is working. So now let's make sure that I know my IP address of this VM, which is ending in 146. I can go back inside the browser, open a new tab, and type my local IP address followed by 146, enter, and I will be greeted with the Apache default page. That means that Apache is working. But where is Zabbix? Zabbix dashboard can be accessed by adding //Zabbix at the end. Press enter, and here we are. We are welcomed into Zabbix 6.4. From a drop down, I can leave English or I can change to GB. I'm going to change into GB default language. Click next step, and it's showing exactly check the prerequisites, and I can see everything is okay, green, okay, green, okay, green. Next. And this is where I configure the connection. So localhost for database is fine, port is fine, database Zabbix user, and a password is going to be password in my case. Obviously, if you use the different setup process, changing the password here, this is going to be a password you need to enter. Next step. No, thank you, Chrome browser. I don't want to remember this. I'm going to name this Zabbix YT. Default time zone system, that is fine. And default theme from blue, I will change straight into a dark mode. Click next step, and it's telling me pre-installation summary. Everything looks like okay. Click next step, and congratulations, you have successfully installed Zabbix frontend. Finished. And that's it. I'm right now greeted with a login prompt. Default user is admin with a capital A, and a password is Zabbix. Sign in, and that's it. We are inside the Zabbix dashboard. For me to do a video showing you how to configure everything, what you need, everything inside the Zabbix, it will take days to do, because Zabbix is so powerful. You can, like I said, you can monitor pretty much anything you want. The same thing what they say on the screen on the homepage. You can monitor anything you want with the Zabbix. So to show you everything what Zabbix can do is going to be days and days of video just to showing you everything. What I'll show you is just how to include the one agent, how to automate agent discovery, and how to create a simple dashboard. So first thing, let's create ourselves a new host, or add a new host. To add a host into a Zabbix dashboard for you to monitor, you need to click on a data collection on the left hand side and choose host. And right now, as you can see, it says Zabbix-Server currently is added and is enabled and is working availability ZBX, means there is a Zabbix agent running, and agent encryption is currently none. So if I'll click, for example, on items, and it will show me what Zabbix tracking, or what Zabbix is tracking using the Zabbix agent, and it's tracking a lot of stuff. As you can see, there's a bunch of stuff is being tracked. If I go back and I'll go on the triggers, it will show me what happened with the recent, what happened and what's got triggered and what kind of data got pulled from the Zabbix using Zabbix agent. Graphs, it's just going to show me graphs, what kind of graphs is set up in this system. Discovery is showing what is discovered about this Zabbix agent. And to see what it's actually doing, I can click on a monitoring, hosts, and then this is the same showing up, but right now I can click on a graphs, and it's showing what is happening with the Zabbix agent. It's showing the storage of my VM that I'm using for Zabbix-Server, Linux CPU jumps, showing what is happening with the CPU, CPU by the times, there are different resources, and more and more and more and more and more data showing up here. If I go all the way to the bottom, as you can see, displaying 20 out of 20 stuff. And some of the monitoring systems that you will set up will do more than 20. It's going to be like 6-7 pages showing up at the bottom. You can change how far you want to go by last 2, 7 days, 30 days, 2 years back. You want to see the last 5 minutes, or you want to just see what's happened today, what's happened this week, last 1 day. I usually have mine set on 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, sorry, just to see what's happened. So as you can see, CPU was fine, and suddenly it just went slightly up, and a bunch of other stuff happening on here. So okay, all fine, all good, but so at the moment we have only one agent or only one monitoring point. So to add another one, like I said, you need to click on a data collection, host, create a host, give it a host a name. I'm gonna call this some VM for host name. Visibility name, this is gonna be this showing up here, so you can leave this as some VM, or you can rename it. And then I am gonna just say add by agent, so interface agent, and now I need to add IP address. I'll go back to my Proxmox, click on the VM that I'm gonna use to monitor. Let's click on a console and let's check what is IP address of this. This is 81. So let's go back into dashboard, and I'm just gonna put my local IP address followed by 81. Everything else you can leave by default. Zabbix agent and server communicates via port 10050, so leave like that. And that is it. I'm click add. Groups, yes, I need to add the groups. select a group, and what that will be, that's going to be a virtual machine. You can select applications, databases, hypervisors. If you, for example, monitoring Proxmox cluster like I do, so you can add as a hypervisors. Linux, I'm going to say I'm monitoring the virtual machine. Select, click add. So right now some VM is being added. Everything is showing up here, except it's saying that availability is not available because Zabbix agent has not been detected inside this interface. IP address followed by the 1005. So we need to go and install Zabbix agent inside this VM. So I'll jump back into my SSH client, click on a new tab, and this is the some VM virtual machine that I will use for this. Straight away, if you're setting up something up, I suggest straight away to do app update and app upgrade just to make sure that everything is okay. So let's quickly do that. I will update and upgrade the system. Let's see if it's, oh, I need to put sudo here as well, my bad. So that's it, everything updated and upgraded. Let's check if this VM gives me option to install Zabbix agent. To double check, you just type sudo apt search Zabbix, and it's going to give me all the packages that I can install with the word Zabbix. So we don't need server, no proxies, no, we need this. We need Zabbix agent, and that's what we're going to install. Control L to clear the screen. Sudo apt install Zabbix agent. Enter. So right now we need to go and configure Zabbix agent to talk to a Zabbix server. To do that, you need to type sudo nano /etc /Zabbix /Zabbix agent-d.conf. And if I scroll down, I'm gonna find the part of the code on here which will say, I do believe, passive monitoring. Let's just keep passive checks related. This is what I need. I scroll down, I'll find this line which says server. I need to delete that. I need to enter the IP address of my Zabbix server. Just gonna double check the IP address, which was 146. So I'm gonna enter here 192.168.178.146. And if I scroll down a bit more, I'll find an option which says active checks, and it's gonna ask me for a server IP address as well. So I'm gonna enter this one here now, and I'll explain to you the difference between them. 146. The difference between active and passive is the passive monitoring. It means the Zabbix server will constantly ask the data from Zabbix agent, where active checks is agent will send the data to a server. Server will not ask them. As soon as the agent is up and running, it's going to send the data. Active checks is more useful for laptops. Like, for example, I have my Dell XPS 13 laptop with Linux Mint installed, and I set up that to be my active checks. That means once my laptop is on and it's connected to our internet, it's just going to send the data. Where passive, it means the server will ask for data. I suggest to change IP address next to a server active and server passive in both places. Just you don't know how you're going to set up in the future, so you just change in both places. So once everything is changed, I'm going to press Ctrl X to close, Y to write, Enter to confirm. So Zabbix agent is set up. Now I need to restart the Zabbix agent to forcing Zabbix agent to use most recent configuration files we just did. To do that, I need to type sudo space /etc/init.d Zabbix-agent space restart. Enter. And now I can double check by typing sudo space systemctl status Zabbix-agent.service. I can see it's running. So if I jump back into my dashboard, right now, let's wait for a second or so for this to kick in. I'm going to refresh a bit more, and just need to wait for Zabbix server to detect that this agent is up and running. I forgot to mention one thing. I don't think the Zabbix will change into green because we haven't told the Zabbix server what to ask of the Zabbix agent. To do that, when you click on the data collections host, you click on the name of the host that you want to track, and inside here next to templates, you need to add the template. If you click select, it's going to give you another table. If you click select again, it gives you an option what you can track. If you select templates, and then it's going to give you a list of all the stuff you can go and track inside, well, using Zabbix server. And this list is quite lengthy, and you can add even more to this list. If you go to the page, that will leave a link in the description below, but basically this is Zabbix integrations, and it's going to give you a list of everything you can track. You can track Chrome, you can track Cloudflare. and keep going. Ambi, you can track somewhere it's supposed to be, I can see Synology, or supposed to be Synology, Grafana, Git, and much more. And this list is not all. There is a very active community behind it, which creates amazing scripts for the Zabbix to use to monitor stuff. And that list that the community created is even longer, what you see here on the screen. So with Zabbix, it is right, you can pretty much track and monitor anything you want. So let's go back in here, and now I'm gonna click on this, deselect, and I will write Linux. If I type Linux, okay, it doesn't found this way. Let's go back and type in here Linux. So now I type Linux, it goes and searches any template that has the word Linux, and I'm gonna use Linux by Zabbix Agent. There is no word passive because Linux by Zabbix Agent just defaulted to passive, which this one means active, where the Zabbix Agent will push the data. I'm gonna choose this. I'm gonna say update, and now let's see what's happening. So far it's got 43 items. If I click on the graphs, this is the graphs is pulling from. And now if I click on the monitoring hosts, and now I need to wait to see Zabbix turning into green color, and it means the connection is established. And here we are, in literally like 5 seconds after I stopped talking, the Zabbix turned into green, and I'm showing that right now it has 43 items pulled. If I click on this, I can see that Zabbix-Server requested for CPU idle time 10 seconds ago, and it is 99.9625%. It is a bit more showing up. So system name is some VM, system local time, system boot time, and everything else. You can set up a lot of stuff. You can monitor to show your dashboard how long the system was up, the ping, the speed, and everything else in between. So if I click on the monitoring and hosts, I click on the graphs, and I can see that right now it's pulled the data about storage, or almost finished pulling data about storage. It knows that there's one drive, so showing one drive here, but still waiting for data to be fetched. If I scroll down a bit, I can see there's a bit of showing about CPUs already. It's showing about total memory and everything else. And right now it's found 13, and this number will go until the Zabbix-Server finish asking Zabbix Agent to give all the list of stuff that is okay, is gonna monitor. So we'll go back, so it's still 13. If I refresh this page, it's probably it should go a bit up, but right now from 48 it's down up to 67. So we're just gonna go and happen automatically. And this is all well and good as you basically added one host. What if you have 10 different things you want to monitor in your home lab, 20, 50? You don't want to go and manually add every single host one at a time. Zabbix-Server allows you to do that all automatically, and that's what I'm going to show you next. To automate all this detecting host thing, what you need to do, you need to click on the data collections, discovery, and click on the local network. This will be created by default. If I click on this, so this is a discovery rule called local network. This IP address is entered by default. You need to amend this to match your local network. My case, I need to change from 0 to 178. So my local network IP addresses are all 192.168.178 dot something. So I said that scan all the IP addresses between 1 and 254. Update interval 1 hour is not that great. I'm gonna do 5 minutes, for example. I think I can do 2 minutes or 1 minute. Let's actually do 1 minute. I set up 5 minutes. I think 1 minute should work fine as well. And how is going to check? It's going to check if all the devices has Zabbix Agent installed. But so far I installed Zabbix Agent only on one device. So what I need to do, I need to remove that, and I need to add the checks. So I want Zabbix-Server to go and check all the devices that's currently connected to my home network, and check if they have option for HTTP port, if they have option, for example, for receiving ping, if they have option, for example, SSH into them. Do they have option to FTP? So you can add all this. So Zabbix-Server will go and check. It will find a device and will check. Can you do port 80? Can you receive pings? Can you do SSH? Can you do FTP? Can you do this? Can you do that? And if one of them will say yes, it will be added automatically into your hosts list. I'm going to click here, enable at the bottom, and click update. So the rule is updated. Now we need to trigger or set up the trigger that will trigger this rule as soon as, we need to set up the trigger that will trigger the add host automatically once this rule is met. To do that, I need to click on Alerts, Actions, Discovery Action. Create a new action. I will name this Auto Add to Hosts. Condition. I need to add condition. Will say Discovery Rule, Select, Local Network. So this trigger will create an action on the condition if this rule is get triggered. So local network under discovery rules will be triggered. It will go and do operation, which is add the host. Add that, and this is enabled. If I click back on the monitoring and hosts, I should see more stuff showing up on this list if I done everything correctly. So let's wait for a second or so to see if that happens. And here we are. As soon as I press refresh, I get my Fritzbox. Fritzbox is my router. Obviously this IP address starts with 1, so it's detected 1. What it's doing now, the Zabbix server, it goes and checks IP address ending with 2, IP address ending with 3, with 4, with 5, and it's go all the way up to IP address ending with 254, and it will add all the devices as soon as it detects. So Fritzbox accepted one of the requests, SSH, FTP, ping, or port 80, and as soon as one of them was true, came back with the result true, it's been added. I'm just gonna leave this running like this because I don't want to start showing all my stuff that happens in my home network. But on my main Zabbix server, I have a bunch of stuff already showing up here. So right now, what I'll do, I'll jump to a next thing, which is a dashboard. Zabbix server comes to pre-configured with this dashboard, but I want to change this dashboard slightly or create my own new one. So I'm gonna click on the old dashboard here at the top, create a new dashboard, and we'll name this Zabbix YT lesson, for example. Default page display period, I will say 10 seconds. So that means that it's gonna go every 10 seconds, refresh the data on the page. Apply, and that's it. This is my blank canvas where I can go and start adding stuff. Let's say at the top right, I want to add a clock, and I want to have this digital, and I want clock to refresh every 10 seconds for some reason. I want to have a date, and if I click additions, I want to have the time to be in the light green color, and it needs to be bold, and 24-hour format is fine. Do I want to show seconds? Yes, I can. I don't mind. Click add. And now if I mouse over, I get this drag points. I can say that will be fine here. No, this is fine. So this is the clock. On this side, let's say I want to add the, let's say, top hosts. So this is a bunch of stuff you can, as you can see, you can add graphs, you can add map, you can add web URL, you can add URL straight into a website, you can monitor websites if the website up and down, and a bunch more. I'm going to click top hosts. I will name this, let's say, BMs. Refresh interval 10 seconds. And you can add hosts by the actual group. So I'm going to say everything that's inside group virtual machines will get added. I don't need to specify the host. I'm fine just specifying the group. And then I want to do a columns. So first column will say name. And next is going to say from item value, I'm going to say display host name. Add. If I click add, it's going to say nothing because I need to have 2 columns. So I'm going to say next column will be, what's going to be next column? Let's say CPU. Let's say CPU. Okay, item value is fine. What is item value I'm going to add? CPU. And now in here, I need to pick CPU, Linux CPU utilization, because I'm tracking Linux VM. I need to choose Linux CPU utilization, or I can go and I think it should allow me to track a bunch of stuff. So from some VM, this VM sends this data, and if all the virtual machines sends the same data, you can use one of them to specify what you want. So I'm just gonna clear that, close that. I'm just gonna say I want to track CPU utilization. Do I want to show as it is, just a number value, or I want to show indicators? And I want to show indicators. And I want to say base color. Basically, it's always green. Everything is fine. CPU can go from 0, literally nothing is being used, to 100% max. 2 decimal points, that is fine. Or can I say 1? Threshold. So always going to be green color unless it reaches 50%. which the color will change, let's say, into yellow. If it reaches 75% of CPU utilization, it's going to change into orange. And if it goes, let's say, above 80, it's going to be red. And click add. Add, and that's it. This is my graph showing up. So basically, because I chose 2 decimal points, 1 decimal point instead of 2, I'm just going to change that to, say, 3 decimal points. Apply. So basically, this VM doing nothing. It's doing 0.033% CPU utilization, and it's showing green color as this is a base color. But then its color will change depending on the thresholds I set up. So let's say I don't want 50. I'm gonna say 50. So if you're using half, it's gonna be 50. If you're using 80, it's gonna be red color. And that's just sits here. I can add something else. Name CPU. Let's say I'm gonna add RAM. I'm gonna add RAM. So I'm gonna say RAM. Actually, no, not RAM. Let's say memory. So I'm gonna say memory, available memory, and yeah, how much memory is got left. Thresholds I don't gonna set. I'm gonna say as it is. That's fine. Add. So here we go. So some VM is using 0.25% CPU and it's 89.19% RAM free. And this is how you keep add and add and add more dashboards into this list. And that's it. This is the Zabbix server and how Zabbix will allow you to monitor pretty much anything you want from your home lab. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.